You never knew any of this about Conor McGregor. Even with someone as popular as the Notorious, there's still much fans who have yet to discover. That said, the video has many shockers, so stay tuned until the end. Number 10, his life before the UFC.
I got the first trade that came my way, which was plumbing, you know what I mean?
Just because Conor McGregor appears to be at the top of the world currently doesn't mean he was always there. We love ourselves a good rags to riches story, and Conor McGregor is one of the best live examples today. Way before the UFC or even before he started MMA, Conor was on the road to becoming a plumber. He had an apprenticeship that would take as much as 12 hours daily while fixing pipes and toilets back in Dublin, Ireland. Now that he's reached the absolute peak of MMA, some would argue, he reveals that he never held any passion for the job, which would require him to trek miles for work at 5 a.m. to be picked up at the motorway. Regardless of how you may feel about him, you can't deny that the man has seen some hard times. Speaking of hardships, there's still more to come. Some of the entries on this list are simply unbelievable, so continue watching. Number 9, he's not the only success story within the family. It seems like Conor McGregor isn't the only success story within his family. The McGregors have shown their grit over time and are a well-established name at this point. Let's shift the spotlight to Erin McGregor, the older sister of Conor, who was a reasonably well-known fitness model and bodybuilder. She has amassed over 150,000 followers on her social media handles, and had once set out to becoming a hairdresser. She, much like her brother, began an apprenticeship but eventually quit to pursue her dreams. And now, as we all know, it worked well for her. Much like her brother, Erin McGregor is an inspiration for people who dream of making it big but don't have much to work with. Number 8, he's stuck with his team. It isn't unheard of for UFC fighters to change camps or teams throughout their career. This might surprise you, but Conor McGregor has remained with the same group of friends, team and coach with whom he entered the UFC. Apparently, he keeps himself grounded by staying loyal to the people who stood by and supported him, even before he became a star. Now that's something we can respect. McGregor also isn't one to shy away from this fact. He has made his loyalty apparent multiple times throughout his career. This is even more true regarding his coach, John Kavanagh. Kavanagh has been supporting the Notorious even before his UFC debut, and McGregor isn't one to forget that fact. Since we're already hovering around the loyalty topic, check this out. Number 7, he's been with his girlfriend since 2008.
I definitely try and help him out any way I can.
While we aren't ones to pry into someone's personal affairs, McGregor's relationship with longtime girlfriend Dee Devlin is one of the more wholesome points on the spectrum. McGregor may strike some as a confident and borderline cocky fighter, but wouldn't you know it, the persona vanishes when it comes down to friends and especially his family. McGregor has been with his childhood sweetheart since 2008 and has had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son, to be precise. He has made it clear that he is a family man as much as he is a fighter, and who wouldn't want to see him like that? While his kids are still young, we can't put off the possibility that there might be a McGregor family MMA legacy brewing for the future. Number 6, started from welfare. McGregor faced a lot before the UFC. After he left his old job, he could barely make ends meet while trying to support his fighting career and proceed to the next level. McGregor recalls his days before the meteoric rise to fame started, just days before the MMA superstar was scheduled in Sweden to make his UFC debut. He had cashed a social welfare check to support himself on his way to the airport. Fortunately for McGregor, and ultimately us, McGregor went on to decimate his opponent Marcus Brimage in less than 2 minutes. The performance was so stellar that the then youngster earned a well-deserved $60,000 knockout of the night bonus, something he desperately needed at the moment. This event would eventually rotate the wheel that, as we all know, would eventually lead McGregor to become the first UFC double champion and the personality we know today. Number 5, he isn't the first Irishman to join the UFC. Many believe Conor McGregor was the first Irishman to enter the UFC. While we won't act strong and admit that we thought so too at one point, this is simply not true. The first Irishman to enter the UFC was a fighter known as Tom Egan. Unfortunately for him, Tom Egan could not score a win for himself in the organisation, and then came McGregor. While he wasn't the first Irishman to enter the UFC, he was the first Irishman to enter the UFC and win. Do you see this little difference between the two statements? It isn't surprising why people get them mixed up all the time. Number 4, he was double champ twice. Most people who know Conor McGregor know he was the UFC's first double champ by simultaneously retaining titles in the lightweight and featherweight divisions. After all, it's a large part of the Notorious legacy. However, Not many know that this wasn't the first time Conor McGregor became the double champ of an organisation. Well, that's exactly what we're here to tell you, aren't we? Even before joining the UFC, McGregor had won 2 titles in a different organisation at the time known as Cage Fighters. Aside from being the first non-American to have won 2 different world titles in 2 different weight classes, he's also one of the first to have been crowned the double champ twice in 2 different organisations. Like in the UFC, McGregor won his lightweight and featherweight titles in 2 back-to-back fights at Cage Fighters. He's cemented a legacy that is hard to compete with or crack, don't you think? Well, since we're already on legacies. Number 3, kept his grandfather's hat. If you've been following the Irishman for a while, you might have noticed McGregor sporting an old cap from time to time. While McGregor isn't one to repeat his wardrobe, especially since he garnered all that fame, he didn't shy away from using the cap. And the reason? Well, we won't lie, it's pretty wholesome. The hat was a memento, left behind by his grandfather. While McGregor isn't one to show his sentimental side and states that it helps. While McGregor isn't one to show his sentimental side, he states that it helps to keep him grounded and remind him of his beginnings. There's just something special about the way he used to sport that old hat. Sadly, unlike his UFC career, the hat didn't have a happy ending like many of us fans would have expected. It was stolen from the back of McGregor's car in 2014 along with his bag. Fortunately, most of the entries in this video are pretty gratifying. Speaking of which, you're definitely in for a ride for the last 2 entries, so don't take your eyes off the screen. Number 2, amateur boxing. Unlike popular belief, McGregor wasn't exactly a greenhorn when fighting Floyd Mayweather. Although it had been quite some time, McGregor actually had some boxing experience under his belt. Granted, he was still a long way from Money Mayweather, but he wasn't as inexperienced as they made him out to be to sell out the fight. Conor started his fighting career by boxing, and he was pretty good at it too. This leads us to question if there's anything he doesn't find himself excelling at when he puts his mind to it. Anyway, he recounted his amateur boxing wins in the Notorious documentary and even showed the title he'd won. Now, we know what you're thinking about what could possibly top a boxing championship. Well, hold on to your seats. Number 1, he has scored a 4-second knockout. Jorge Masvidal? No sir. Bring up a round of Conor McGregor. Conor's left hook is a thing of legend, myth. Everyone knows the signature move, which led him to defeat both Jose Aldo and Eddie Alvarez on the road to becoming a double champ. However, not many people know that the same hook helped him to score his fastest KO/TKO. Way before Conor stepped inside the octagon, he defeated his opponent, a man by the name of Paddy Doherty, in a matter of 4 seconds. This was just a glimpse of what the man would achieve later in his career. The best part is, McGregor recounts travelling for over 8 hours to make such a short fight. So, what are your thoughts? Did you know most of what was written above? Or were you surprised and learned new things about the anomaly that is Conor McGregor? Whatever the case, let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.